Now,
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
Hey, it's 5:06. It's O'Connor and Company here on a Thursday morning, right here in your nation's capital, Washington, the District of Columbia. Thanks for tuning in. Nationwide, actually. It's America's Morning Show, and we've got plenty to talk about today. Whoopi Goldberg appeared on The View, Mercedes Schlapp, yesterday from home via Zoom because, you know, she's got the COVID.
She's got the Chinese corona,
That's
as
the
Matt
one.
Schlapp likes to say. Larry,
And
you're back. Can I just say you're back?
oh, it's good
so
to be
great.
back. Thank you. Well, I've been back all week, but it's my first time talking to you
It's,
here. Yeah.
yes.
So Whoopi Goldberg appearing on The View. She's got COVID-19. She dials in on Zoom. She says, "I'm here, home, alone, isolating myself," so that she had a mask. She had a mask.
Mask. So did Dr. Fauci, Anthony Fauci, call her up
Are you
and
kidding?
say, "Hey, Whoopi, put on your mask"?
She's getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom next
oh
because
my
of
goodness,
this moment.
the
The
Presidential
courage.
Medal for masks.
Home
How about
alone, connecting to television on Zoom, but you keep your mask on so you don't hurt anybody.
that? Larry, stop it! You're wearing a mask right now. I don't know what you're talking about.
I've never taken it off. 7:05, Deborah Tisler running for Fairfax School Board. 7:35, Congressman Mike Waltz, love that guy from Florida. 8:05, we're going to talk about Yacht Rock because it is exploding all over the place. And we're
Wait,
the
did you say Yacht Rock?
yeah, don't you love Yacht Rock?
Is that the Sirius XM like Yacht Rock?
Yeah, but it's not exclusive to that competitor to this radio station. Mercy,
Oh
thanks.
God, am I going to get fired in like a minute?
No, it's a whole genre of music, and it's perfect for
Yacht
us here
rock?
in the Mid-Atlantic. Yes,
Like
yeah.
who listens to that?
So we're going to talk about that coming up at 8:05, and then at 8:35, our friend Chef Andrew Gruel. Love checking in with him. Gosh, it's great to have you, Mercedes.
Oh,
Shooting down our
Larry.
segments 3 hours ahead of time.
go Irish! I'm so sorry about our Navy guys.
You
That
should
was
be very
pretty bad
proud
at
as a Notre
football.
Dame fan that they
Exactly,
beat up on the
exactly.
military.
Yeah.
With their 6th-year quarterback. Who's in college for 6 years as a quarterback? I assure you there's no 6-year players for Navy. They do 4 years and only 4 years because then they go put on a uniform and defend our country. That's disgusting that your quarterback is in his 6th year.
Can you stop politicizing football? This is outrageous.
You started it. Let's get to the important stories. Hunter Biden, the son of the president, the business partner of the president. I'm going to start calling him Joe Biden's business partner until I see any other evidence to the contrary. I know Joe Biden says that he didn't know anything about his son's business, but every bit of evidence suggests that they were business partners.
Right.
And Hunter Biden, the son of the president, the smartest guy the president ever met, it appears now will be facing an indictment by the end of the month. Now, why this takes so long, I don't know. Special Counsel David Weiss in court yesterday said that he intends to bring these criminal charges specifically about the gun charges. Now, this is lying on a federal application to obtain a firearm where you're asked, are you currently, addicted to substance abuse? And clearly he was, and he lied on that form. Mercy, this is the lowest of low-hanging fruit. They should be able to bring these charges yesterday. I don't know why this takes another month to go through. Originally, by the way, that ridiculous sweetheart plea deal that David Weiss's office had agreed to ahead of time would have allowed him to go into sort of, redirection, self-help program, so he would have avoided any jail time. But now that completely fell through, and now it looks like this will be going to trial.
Yeah.
So
they recommended back with the sweetheart plea deal, which I think most Americans could never get. In his acknowledgement in failing to pay taxes on income, in exchange they were going to recommend probation. The prosecutors would have recommended probation, meaning he would have likely avoided prison time. Obviously, I think that Weiss wanted to push forward on. There's this mistrust with David Weiss, and remember Merrick Garland assigned him or appointed him as special counsel.
Yes,
So
in an attempt to cover this
they're thinking by
up.
solving this gun issue, quote unquote, this
Right.
that it's going to be enough.
Right, they're going to show. See, David Weiss is
He did it.
obviously
He
unbiased.
went after the son.
Yeah. It's bull, because the real issue here is the obstruction of justice, the lying, the trying to protect Joe Biden, the the heads up that was given to the Biden team, the Hunter team, as well as the White House about a pending search. I mean, all of this stuff that David Weiss oversaw. No, he's not fooling anybody with that, and hopefully Congress isn't fooled by this, and the Republicans, Jim Jordan and James Comer, will step up and say, no, Weiss is part of the problem here. That said, Hunter Biden's team is asking for a speedy trial on this. That means that the government has to return an indictment by September 29th. The government said in court that they intend to get that indictment in the case before September 29th. Again, they should be able to get it today. We always hear about look at all the indictments that special counsels and U.S. attorneys have been able to bring against Trump people. They always say that a U.S. attorney can bring an indictment against a ham sandwich. Well, Hunter Biden's about as smart as a ham sandwich. But here's how the argument before the grand jury should go today, and it should take literally 30 seconds. Here's the form that Hunter Biden said he didn't take any drugs on to obtain a firearm, and it's a felony if you lie on that form, and then you set that down. And then just start scrolling through the pictures on the laptop of him smoking from a crack pipe at the same time. Set that down and say, ladies and gentlemen of the grand jury, what's your decision? That's all it takes. And the indictment is there. Thank you. I
Larry,
just saved the government a lot of time and money.
You totally did. I mean, you're
welcome.
in the wrong line of business here. I mean, seriously. You should be the special counsel. But this is what, look, listen to me. But again, you mentioned this right at the beginning. It's a low-hanging fruit.
Yes,
it's
it
like,
is.
let's say we're finally moving on this criminal Hunter Biden who has been able to pretty much get away with murder. But the bigger issue here is the slow-moving situation when it comes to Hunter's laptop, all his connections to foreign nationals, his web, his network with our enemies,
right,
with China, with Russia, in his ability to basically represent them and try to have business negotiations with then Vice President Joe Biden.
That's right.
To me, that's it. That's an even bigger
100% the biggest
crime
issue.
scheme that yet you're seeing. Talk about slow moving, incredibly slow moving.
And you shouldn't expect anything from David Weiss's
No.
office on that. That's
No.
why hopefully Republicans should have already begun the impeachment inquiry process. As soon as David Weiss was announced, they should have, within 24 hours, they should have said, yeah, we're beginning a process, the impeachment process. And even though they were on recess, they could have had staff assembled and start the process of vetting witnesses, preparing subpoenas, and going through evidence starting 4 weeks ago. But now they're back this week, and they should jump face first into this and not get distracted by what David Weiss is doing, because yes, it's a no-brainer, the gun charges. Seriously, let's move on to the real stuff. The real stuff involves the President of the United States, and that's why it will take forever. More on that as the morning develops. Also, Mr. Trump himself, not he himself, but all 19 defendants facing the Georgia charges from that district attorney. They had a day in court yesterday with some decisions made and some delayed, and we'll tell you about that coming up as well. But first, it's 5:15 WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the fives with Jamie Whitten in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939. Weeknights with Mark Levin, 6 to 9 p.m.
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL. Making sense of the news.
Mercedes. Now, as I mentioned just now, hopefully Republicans in charge of the oversight, judicial, and Ways and Means committees, that would be Comer, Jordan, and Smith, respectively, they're not getting distracted by this fig leaf of unbiased justice coming from David Weiss and bringing these gun charges, which are the knowest of no-brainers. Hopefully they're focused more on the reality of the concerns. Number one, not just of the actual allegations and evidence that point to Joe Biden being in cahoots with his son to bilk tens of millions of dollars from foreign nationals while he was vice president of the United States, but also, frankly, I think the more important issue right now, which is a Biden administration scandal, the cover-up and obstruction of justice in the Justice Department, in David Weiss's own office, trying to make the Hunter Biden thing go away with the plea deal. All right.
Well, remember, it was the Department of Justice going in there and telling the IRS, and according to these IRS whistleblowers, we're not going to keep investigating this Hunter Biden scenario.
All the whistleblowers who said, we've got the crimes, we've got everything. David Weiss contradicting Merrick Garland's sworn testimony by saying he didn't have the power to bring charges. By the way, that's backed up by Merrick Garland eventually giving him those powers as special counsel. So Merrick Garland, in that move, actually conceding that he lied under oath to the United States Senate. But also the heads up given to the Secret Service about a pending search of a storage locker in Virginia. I mean, this thing has obstruction of justice written all over it. And it appears that Mr. Jordan and Comer and Smith are going full speed ahead. According to Catherine Herridge of CBS News, she has obtained a letter to Hunter Biden's legal team from those three committee chairmen saying that whatever privilege, whatever attorney-client privilege they may have had with Hunter Biden with regard to the plea negotiations are now null and void because, and I'll quote from the letter, given that disclosures about the plea deal have been widely publicized by anonymous leaks to the Washington Post and the New York Times and usual suspects.
Yes.
Given it have been made to two media outlets and this information has been widely publicized, no basis exists to withhold documents and communications from the committees, including on the basis of any purported duty of confidentiality, work product, or other privilege interest. Should you refuse to provide the committee with the requested information because of any purported privilege, the committee may need to seek testimony from you and or Hunter Biden directly regarding the disclosure of these documents and communications. And the documents and communications are specifically, what did you say to David Weiss's U.S. Attorney's Office, and what did they say to you in working out this negotiated deal? Because the reports are that the defense said, hey, we're going to bring Joe Biden as a witness in this thing if you charge Hunter. You don't want that. You don't want to make the big guy angry. And apparently the U.S. Attorney's Office under David Weiss agreed. And that's why they did this deal, to keep it away from the White House. And it looks like Comey and Smith and Jordan are on top of it. And so now the ball is in the Hunter Biden lawyers' camp.
Yeah, I think, look, it's getting more, it's like a cover-up. It's almost like the DOJ cover-up, and then you've got the Department of Homeland Security cover-up as well, where you're also saying that, you have Comer. He's going to subpoena Alejandro Mayorkas and the Secret Service, and part of this is how is Department of Homeland Security? The thing is that they're going to prolong the process. They do, and they are not going to cooperate. We're going to see this with the Department of Justice as well. They are not going to cooperate with these House committees,
which is all part of the obstruction.
It is going to be, it's going to be a battle because they're going to obstruct. And the reality is that the American people are seeing it for what it is, which is the DOJ is protecting the Biden family while the DOJ is going after President Trump and anyone who is associated with that MAGA movement that's supporting President Trump in that position. And it's very clear that those are the two lanes we're watching.
Yeah, let's flesh out what you just alluded to, having to do with Mayorkas, the Secret Service, and the Department of Homeland Security. In late May and early June, when the IRS whistleblowers under oath described specifically the incident where U.S. Attorney's Office, FBI special agents, and IRS investigators wanted to investigate a storage locker in Virginia that was under the name of Hunter Biden, and also obtain search warrants for other documents to further bolster their case of criminal conduct by the Biden family. The Secret Service was given a heads up on that. The U.S. Attorney's Office told the Secret Service that this was happening. And obviously, then there were a bunch of roadblocks put in the way, and it never happened. Even if the search had happened, because they were given a heads up, Hunter Biden would have taken the documents and, digested them or whatever he did to get rid of them. So the Oversight Committee and the Ways and Means Committee, they said, well, we want answers about this. And they let the Secret Service know, this is not standard protocol. This is not your role. This is not your job. Your job is not to protect these people legally. You're supposed to protect their lives, but not whether they get indicted if they're criminals. Now here's where it gets interesting. The secret, and I'm reading from a document now produced by the Oversight Committee. The Secret Service explained that a responsive document to the committee's June 29th letter was prepared. So the Secret Service had answers to all the questions that the Oversight Committee wanted answered about this, which is the way this is supposed to go. Oversight Committee has oversight over the executive branch. Secret Service is in the executive branch. It looks like there's been malfeasance. So the Oversight Committee says, answer these questions. Secret Service does their duty and answers the question. Then what happened? Well, Department of Homeland Security, Office of Legal Affairs, instructed the Secret Service not to transmit the response. Mayorkas and DHS stands in the way of this.
Guess who does not work for the executive branch? Who doesn't work for the executive branch? Hunter Biden.
Hunter Biden.
Just think about that.
That's right.
So you've got this situation at hand where then the Secret Service, this is after you see that the Department of Homeland Security instructs Secret Service not to transmit the response.
Mm-hmm.
The Secret Service provides a letter to the Oversight Committee that did not identify the individuals responsive to that June 29th letter. And then it says, quote, the Secret Service was not able to identify any current employees with firsthand knowledge.
Amazing, isn't it?
It's
Amazing how that
insane,
works.
Larry.
So,
it's insane.
And this is how the cycle works. You're a reporter and you're asking Karine Jean-Pierre to answer to all of these allegations involving the Biden family. And she says, listen, Hunter Biden is just a member of the family. He doesn't work for the administration, so I don't have to answer any of your questions. Talk to Hunter Biden's lawyers. And then when Congress actually subpoenas the Secret Service to explain their behavior in protecting Hunter Biden, they act like he does work for the administration, and they circle the wagons to protect him and defy a completely legal request for information from the Oversight Committee. It's amazing how that works.
Well, the question will be, I'm sure that the House Committee will hold a hearing where they're going to have Alejandro Mayorkas come and
he'll lie and we'll continue this for no. Here's what needs to happen. By Monday of next week, we need to start the impeachment process. I don't know what more they need to see.
These moderate Republicans will not do it.
Who?
I'm telling you, they get nervous.
They don't need to vote on an impeachment. Just have the committee begin the investigation. Just investigate.
Well, they're already in doing the investigations at all levels. I think that the key will be, can you get a full House vote on this? And will moderate Republicans move towards it?
That's why you do the hearing. That's why you do that. Stop empowering the moderate
all day
Republicans
long, and then we're going straight into an election.
Good. Stop empowering these moderate Republicans who just say, well, listen, I'm not going to vote for impeachment. Really? You're not going to vote for something without even seeing the evidence? Tell you what.
Well, Mitch McConnell, poor guy, you've not been here for a couple weeks.
No,
it's been brutal.
I've seen it all.
Let me just say something. Mitch
but Mercedes, hang on. Hold
What?
that thought. I want to argue with you. It's been a long time since I've argued with you.
Why do you want to argue with me?
Because Nancy Pelosi didn't hesitate to bring impeachment proceedings, even though she knew the Senate wasn't going to convict. We shouldn't hesitate to do the same. Hold that thought. 525 WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the Fives with Jamie Whitten in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center. All right, so I recognize that Kevin McCarthy is hesitant to bring an impeachment inquiry. By the way, it's not even an impeachment hearing. It's an inquiry process that then could lead to a vote on impeachment. So you begin the process now. You gather the evidence and force those people, those House members who may be reluctant to do this, force them to explain themselves. Force them to say, yes, I've seen all this evidence and I will still vote no.
Ay, por favor, Larry, give me a break. Here's the deal. He's not going to put anything forward if he doesn't have the votes. That's just the reality of it. So if he can't rally all the troops, so he is talking about impeachment inquiry. Actually, James Comer, the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, has said that the impeachment inquiry could be imminent. But the reality is that he's got to rally the Republicans around this. If McCarthy can't do that, he's not going to bring it up for a vote.
If he can't do that, he shouldn't be speaker. And certainly don't worry.
Oh, my gosh. He's in a very tough situation. You try to get these conservatives.
He's not in a tough situation. He wanted this job. Last I checked, he really wanted
Larry,
this job.
It's a lot harder than you think.
It's 5:30.
WMAL-FM Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
News now.
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:37. Mercedes Schlepp, Larry O'Connor, and we're chugging along here on O'Connor and Company. Coming up at 7:05, Deborah Tisler running for Fairfax School Board. 7:35, Representative Mike Waltz of Florida. Lots of stuff going on with regard to national security and foreign affairs that Congressman Waltz is on top of. 8:05 brings us a guy named, he goes by Philly Ocean.
Philly Ocean?
Philly Ocean. That's his stage
Philly
name.
Ocean.
Well, he's got a group called
It's like a song.
Yachtly Crew, and they
What?
play nothing but yacht rock. It's just go with the yacht
why
rock
are we
thing.
doing yacht rock?
I'm
What is
telling
wrong
you,
with
Matt is the perfect demographic for yacht rock.
No, not at all. Are you kidding me?
Coming up at 8:35, Chef Andrew Gruel will join us as well. What kind of music does Matt listen to?
I don't really even know.
Yacht rock.
He does do country music. He likes country music. I don't know, because he's usually like listening to the news or something on the radio.
Yeah, so you
Or
need
he's
an
always,
escape.
he's on the
That's
phone.
the whole thing. The whole
An
Jimmy
escape.
Buffett, Hall & Oates, Kenny Loggins vibe.
Jimmy Buffett, that's a good one. But do
See,
you
well, that's
consider
yacht
Jimmy
rock.
Buffett? That is not yacht rock.
All right, we'll get.
Jimmy
You know what?
Buffett
Our
is not
conversation
yacht rock.
with Philly Ocean at 8:05 will explain it all to you. And
Just, Larry, real
don't
quick.
make a snap judgment about yacht rock.
Okay. I can't believe it. You, Mr. Broadway King. I come on.
Right.
You do Broadway and
That's
yacht rock. That sounds just like pathetic.
and heavy metal. All right, let's give you an update on President Trump and the timeline involved in his court dates as they start to evolve before our eyes. You'll remember that the 19 co-defendants in the bogus RICO case down in Fulton County, Georgia, the DA there, after gathering evidence for 3 years, why the indictment comes now when there was literally no new information that she couldn't have gotten by March 1st of 2021. But the indictment comes now because of the election season. And Mercedes, after gathering all that evidence, she said, yeah, and we want to go to trial October 23rd. In 6 weeks, we're going to trial with 19 co-defendants all sitting there in the courtroom. And it's like, oh, yeah, no problem. That'll be fine. Not so much. So yesterday there was a hearing about this, and most particularly about 2 of the 18. That would be Sidney Powell and Kenneth Chisbro. They wanted to break their cases away from the other 16 and said, listen, we don't have anything to do with these guys. We didn't work with them directly, da-da-da-da-da. And also we want a speedy trial. It's their constitutional right to have a speedy trial. So the judge granted that. These 2 can break away. They can do their own thing. They're going forward in October. The judge also said to the assistant district attorney that he is, and I'm quoting, highly skeptical, unquote, that they'll be able to gather and be able to move forward on the timeline that the DA has laid out, which would be, 4.5 weeks from now.
Right. Now, let's remember all of these co-defendants, and then including Trump, they've all pleaded not guilty.
Yes.
And Fani Willis, in her aggressive, highly political charges of saying that these individuals violated Georgia's racketeering, influence, and corporate organization, something the RICO Act, which is something you would apply to like the mafia, is what her big thing, as well as conspiracy. But I got to tell you, no one cares. No one cares, Larry. The Republican Party is unifying more and more every day with Donald Trump as their lead for the Republican nominee, presidential nominee, because they see this in plain sight, which is the fact that this overzealous prosecutor is attempting to take Donald Trump down. When is the March trial? The trial, March 4th, of a day
before Super Tuesday.
Super Tuesday.
Yeah.
Give me a break. This is an outrage. Fani Willis should be ousted. The mere fact is that you see that that there has to be taken action, because we know clearly this is election interference happening. Our eyes.
Yeah.
Just think about this. This is a district attorney, tiny, and she has been given all this outrageous power to take down a presidential nominee.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, and I don't disagree in any way whatsoever. Do I disagree with you? And I agree that on a political basis, at least for the Republican primaries, this is not making a difference. If anything, it's probably bolstering support around Donald Trump. Okay, that doesn't matter. That's not a legal argument. You're outraged. I'm outraged with you. President Trump is outraged. Voters are outraged. That outrage doesn't stop the legal wheels from turning. The legal argument needs to be there. This is a legal process now, in addition to a political process.
This is a legal process that is more of like what you would see in a banana republic. This is abuse of our legal system.
Okay.
This is not what you would. You read through. Even legal experts have said
I agree,
that their approach, whether it's Jack Smith or any of the other guys, they use these quote unquote novel legal practices.
I know.
That they haven't used before.
Okay, Mercedes, you're right. So what's stopping? You're right.
Nothing's stopping.
And I agree with you. So what's stopping the district attorney from doing this?
Nothing.
That's my point.
She has all this power.
So the fact that she's able to do this means we have to confront it and be real about it. Okay, even though it's an outrage. So let's be real about it. Yesterday, Donald Trump was giving an interview to Hugh Hewitt at Salem, and Hugh said, if you have to go to trial, will you testify in your own defense? And Donald Trump said, and I'm repeating him here, quoting, "Oh, yes, absolutely. On that, I would do. That I look forward to. I look forward to testifying at trial." Is that a good legal strategy for Donald Trump to testify on his own behalf?
Well, I thought about that after I heard President Trump said that. I wonder what his lawyers would think. At this point, you want to trust what your lawyers are going to tell you to do. So it's tricky. It's just tricky. I think at the end of the day, this is where you have to trust what your lawyers are saying, advising you to do. That's what you pay them the big money for.
And we're continuing to unpack the latest developments in the charges against Donald Trump. And I just want to be clear, Mercedes. I mean, my track record is pretty clear here on this program, calling out the bogus nature of all these charges, the unconstitutional charges.
Did I sound like I was accusing you? I'm so
No,
sorry.
not at all.
I'm
not at all. I just want to make
passionate
sure
about this
because
issue.
it may sound like we disagree. I agree with all of that.
No.
But at the same time, knowing how Stalinist this is, knowing how they're trying to take the choice for our elected leaders away from the American people because they're so terrified of their own voters and their own citizens, and this unprecedented attempt to remove Donald Trump from consideration. If Donald Trump's that bad, they should be thrilled to run against him.
Well, and it's why, you've seen some of the concerns. I think even Tucker Carlson brought it up about the fear of a Trump assassination. I do believe that it is very troubling, the direction of what our legal system is doing, creating this insanity around Donald Trump, doing whatever they can to take him off the ballot. We're looking at the fact that you're seeing these Democrat groups going into these states to see if they can remove Donald Trump from the ballot. I mean, this is the type of stuff you see in banana republics. This is the type of stuff you see in Latin America. I mean, it's
100%.
It's brutal.
It is brutal. And as of now, there's nothing to stop it from happening. There's the only thing that stops this from happening is either winning in court, which may be hard in certain jurisdictions because of the way the jury pool is stacked and because of the way the judges are working in cahoots with prosecutors, or you win the election.
Yeah.
But you've got to fight on both of those fronts. And Donald Trump is going to spend a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of money on his legal defense. That's the reality of this.
And I was talking to our mutual friend, Pam Bondi, who is, was a former attorney general for Florida. She's a Trump attorney. And we had a conversation the other day on our show, America Uncanceled, which, Larry, you need to come hang out with us.
I love going on America Uncanceled. Yes.
And basically she mentioned how interesting the timeline has been, that every time there's some sort of Trump trial announcement or something legal on the Trump side, that it always happens a day or two after a Hunter Biden or Joe Biden scandal.
That's right.
And so she's like, you can't tell me that this is not coordinated. She's like, this is totally coordinated from the DOJ to the state prosecutors. I mean, it is scary what we're watching happening before our eyes and what we've seen the DOJ do to take on Donald Trump and take him down.
Yeah. And by the way, here's some other the tactics that we called out as we were seeing it in real time. The special counsel, you remember, indicted this security worker in Mar-a-Lago, this poor guy who's just in charge of, right? They indicted him. And, of course, they put the squeeze on him. They put him in a vice. They're trying to sweat him out and say, you're going to jail for the next 50 years. Unless, of course, you find your way to testify against your old boss there at Mar-a-Lago. And, of course, here we go. Here's the headline they were looking for. Mar-a-Lago worker and witness in the classified documents case has flipped on Trump and now won't be prosecuted. So they have reached an agreement.
Interestingly
He's providing
enough.
testimony
That's what you do.
That's exactly what you do.
Yeah.
And, of course, that,
Listen to me, Larry. If you ever end up in these legal troubles, I'll never flip on you. Ever.
I appreciate that.
Ever. I'll go down with you.
Thank
go
you.
Just down.
Noted. We've now.
Although we'll be in separate jails, which would be so sad, really. We'd have to do
oh,
the
no.
show from
Are you
jail.
kidding me? The second I'm convicted and go into jail, I am flipping to transgender in a second. Call me Loretta. I'm going to the women's prison. You and I, we can still be cellmates. Don't you worry about
We could do
that.
a show from there. It would be
You
perfect.
gotta, hey, game the system, baby. As long as that's an option, I'm taking it.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, so there's the latest in the Mar-a-Lago case. And yes, the 14th Amendment efforts, as we discussed yesterday, which are completely bogus and built on straw, and I expect those to fast track to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will shoot them down. But Colorado is now investigating this as well. Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, I love the names of these groups, they filed a suit citing the 14th Amendment disqualification cause, barring any person who is
I would
engaged in
love to know
insurrection.
who's funding this liberal, quote-unquote, nonprofit group, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics.
Yeah. Can
Give
I
me
get
a
back to
break.
this is one of the things that frustrates people about President Trump is that he's in this interview, and Hugh Hewitt is a very good interviewer, and he's a former lawyer, and he asks very pointed and important and serious questions. And he says, will you testify? It would have been really easy for Donald Trump to say, listen, I would love to testify. My intention is to testify. But at the same time, we got to take this very seriously. Even though it's bogus charges, I want to make sure that I get the best, legal.
Larry,
so my lawyers might no. So he just says,
Larry,
absolutely.
you're trying to be the comms director for Trump. It does not work. We've been there before.
Yeah.
He is. Believe me, I wish I could be like Mr. President. Say it this way, and he's gonna be like, no, because he doesn't talk like that. When he's with Hugh Hewitt, it's like if he's having
I get it.
a Diet
And
Coke
people
with
love him about that. But he says, absolutely, I'll
But
testify.
from a legal standpoint, I'm sure it causes heartburn.
It's
for
not
his
just a legal
lawyers.
transport, Mercedes. If you can let me finish, it's a political problem because he says publicly, absolutely, I can't wait to testify. I will testify. And then they get to the trial and then they decide not to testify. And people are like, come on. That's a political problem when you say definitively, I will do this, and then you don't do it. And does anyone really think he's going to testify on his own behalf in this trial?
I don't see it happening. I think
I
his
don't
lawyers
either.
will be like, absolutely not.
Of course. And so why did he say he would?
Because I think this is how he makes headlines. He knows how to do that.
He makes
Why are
headline-
you asking me
okay.
all these questions?
I just think, honestly, he does need a good comms person. And you
He's
know
his
it.
own comms person.
Yeah, well.
For sure. All I have to say is 2 words, Larry. Go Irish.
Thanks. Thanks for bringing us right back to and I have 3 words. Call me Loretta.
Call me Loretta.
It's 5:54.
I'm Vince Colonnese. Say goodbye.